Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to my Bible study. So, this is my Full Circle Faith Bible study, and I do it every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just to really be the community that we need. You know, right now we're in a season where so many women and men, but so many of us are out here stepping out on faith to follow God and to do what He's calling us to do. And many of us are in seasons that look really wild. Like nothing looks like what it once did. And, you know, as we're stepping out to walk by faith, it can be kind of hard to figure out how to do this, what it looks like, you know, realistically, and how to get to the promises that God says are ours. So, this is what I want to talk about tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about crossing over. We are crossing over, okay? It is time to actually get the things that God says are ours. It's time to step into purpose and walk in the very things that God says we can have. So this is what we'll be discussing today. I'm going to be on Zoom also. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at the Zoom camera. But yeah, I think it's some really good stuff that God is teaching us in this season and giving us an opportunity to really partner with Him and be a part of the things that He's doing in this season, and the lives that He's impacting and the stuff that He's teaching us is like, it's stuff that we're going to be able to use for a long time. So I'm really excited to kind of go over what He was teaching me today and just share it with you guys. And I know it's going to bless somebody. I know it's going to really help somebody and just click, you know? So we're going to get started here in just a second. I'm still getting stuff together here on Zoom, so give me just a minute. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to pray and then we'll begin. Father, I just thank you so much for this time. Thank you that we get a chance to study your word and to share it with other people. Thank you for encouraging me and encouraging all of your children, your daughters and your sons, with the word that you have given me and the things that you've taught me this week to share. I ask that you would just protect and watch over all those who, you know, are watching, all those who are watching the replay, Father, that you would just cover them and keep them, protect them as they go throughout their week. Continue to encourage them to step out in faith and follow you. Father God, I ask that you would give them the boldness they need to be all that you've created them to be, Lord. I thank you and I praise you so much for what you're doing. And I thank you for what you're teaching us in this season. Lord, I ask that you would have your way. Holy Spirit, speak what you want to speak today. And I just love you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So let me get this. I'm going to switch this light over here because your girl needs to see. There we go. Maybe. Okay. That's kind of better. I would put it on my phone, but I feel like it's going to try to fall. But okay. Just get my little tablet in. Okay. Just had to get my notes up, y'all. Okay. So, have you ever wondered what it looks like to possess the promise? To really walk in purpose? To cross over from where you are to where God is sending you? Have you ever wondered how you can stay encouraged? Like, how do you stay the course? How do you keep going when the things that you see make you want to stop, make you want to sit back and, think that you're all out of options. What do you do? Do you ever wonder, how do you not focus on the distraction? How do you focus on your intention? How do you, keep all your energy moving towards what you really want to happen, your expected end? How do you do this? What does this look like? This is what God's been sharing with me. This is what He's been teaching me, I should say, this week. And I know it was something that I needed to share. I know it was something that would bless other people. And I'm like, you know what, Lord, this is so good. Like, this is so, so good. Because I feel like so many of us in this season are trying to figure out how to do the thing God has called us to do. We're trying to figure out what it looks like to cross over, what it looks like to actually step into and walk in the thing that God says is ours, who we really are, who He created us to be. Many of us get tripped up along the way. We don't know how to get there. We're like, okay, Lord, we've given you our yes, we're here, but we don't know how to actually get what you say we can have. What does this look like in real life? And this is what God began to talk to me about this week. And it just I just got really excited. And when He gave me the topic that we're crossing over, I was like, okay, about time. I'm ready. Okay. I'm ready to cross over. It's been a minute. Okay. This faith walk is not easy. When you're stepping out to do things that God is calling you to do, it's not traditional most of the time. It doesn't look like the typical way you would go about things. And you can tend to get a little weary when you're going through these seasons. You're like, I'm standing here. I'm doing what I think I should be doing, what I feel like I'm hearing you say, Father. And how come I can't see my way clear? How come I can't see how to get to the other side? And this often happens when, you've prayed for something and you start to see that God's answered the prayer, but then you realize the prayer is more of a process than it is a promise right off the bat. And all these factors come in and make you feel like, is the promise really going to happen? Can I really remain? Can I really stand long enough to actually see what God has said? And I'm here to tell you, you can do it. Okay. You can do it. God's got you. He did not place you in this situation, in this position to allow you to fail. He didn't put you here thinking that, oh, she's not going to make it. She's not going to be able to go through it. He put you in the very season that you're in the very spot that you're in, to do the thing that He's called you to do. He's put you here to groom you. He's going to get you prepared and ready so that when He gives you the fullness of the answer, when He gives you the promise, you are fully capable of handling it. You're not going to fumble it. You're not just going to mess it up. You're going to be ready to go. And this is just a part of the process, right? Don't give up. You're on the right track. All the stuff, I know it seems like it's going wrong. I know everything seems like it is just complicated, but you are on the right track. Keep going. It gets better. You just got to hang in there. Okay. All right. So let me look here. Okay. So let me give you a little backdrop, right? So this week I was talking to God, and again, like usual, asking Him what He wanted me to share, what He wanted to teach me, but also what He wanted me to share. And I laid down on my back. I closed my eyes and I took a deep breath, and I was like, Lord, I just want you to know I surrender. I still surrender, because I've already given Him my yes, right? I'm already like, I'm going to do this faith walk. However it looks is how it looks, but I'm in here for the long haul. But I just had to reiterate. I just had to put that out there, just because, feelings come up. Sometimes you're uncertain. And I just wanted to verbally say it, like, Lord, I still surrender. I'm still here for the course. I'm still going to stay for the ride. Okay. So as I laid back, I began to get this vision, and it was such a cool vision. Like, I see myself and I'm standing here, and before me is this wall, right? It's a wall that's lined with all the hard things of life. It's lined with the struggle. Okay. So, up against this wall, you see bills, you got student loans, you got lack, you got fear, you have uncertainty, you have all these things lined up against this wall. And the wall looks daunting. It goes way up high, right? The stuff in front of the wall is stacked up high. So you're like, oh my goodness, all this stuff is right here in plain sight, in plain view, all before me. And it looks impossible. So I see this, right? I see it, but I didn't stop. I saw the wall. I saw all the things that would want to deter me and want to throw me off and cause me to quit or go back to dentistry. And yet I still walked towards the wall. And the funny thing is, the closer I got, the more I realized that the very thing that was before me that looked like a wall was not a wall at all. It was actually a curtain, a veil. And it's just funny how those illusions happen. When you're farther away and you see this thing, if I would have just walked away, I would have never realized that it wasn't actually a wall at all. So I walked up to it and I pulled the curtain back. And when I pulled this curtain back, I could see everything behind this curtain. I took a big, long look behind the curtain. And behind the curtain, I saw purpose. I saw dreams. I saw assignment. I saw fulfillment. I saw joy. I saw peace. You know, I saw women's conferences. I saw retreats sold out. I saw, solo art gallery showings and exhibitions. I saw book signing and speaking events. I saw all of this behind the curtain, right? Just walking in purpose, on assignment, living peacefully and joyfully, like the best version of myself. Right there, behind what looked like a wall. What looked like a wall. And so it's so funny because this is why God says, be strong, be courageous. Be strong, be courageous. Why he keeps reiterating this theme? Because it takes courage to walk up to the very thing that would cause you to fear and face it head on. But in that vision, that's exactly what I did. I saw the thing that would cause me to fear and I didn't walk away. I walked straight up to it. And as I got closer, I realized it was actually a curtain. So, this is what purpose was looking like for me. This is what I saw. This is the assignments that I saw behind this curtain. For you, that might look a little different. That might look like starting the company. That might look like writing the book. That might look like, becoming a solo practitioner. Who knows? That might look like starting a ministry. All these things were behind the curtain. Maybe it's encouraging people. Maybe you see yourself getting married or having children. Like, whatever it is that in your heart, those are your desires that God put in you, right? So what's behind your curtain may look different than what's behind my curtain, right? It's going to look a little different because the desires that God's placed in me may be different from the ones he's placed in you. But they're still great. They're still awesome. And they're still possible. You have to remember that they are possible. God did not put these desires in your heart to tease you, to make you give up, to make you see what you want, then never be able to attain it. He's not that type of God. He's not that type of father. Trust me, the things that he's placed in your heart, the things that honor him, the things that bring him glory, the things that bring you joy, the things that make you light up, the things that you're naturally good at, the skills that you've been given, all of these things are placed in you on purpose for a reason. It is to get you to see what's possible so that you can begin to walk in that, so that you can possess the promise. It's all for a reason. So it's time to get excited, y'all. It's time, because we are crossing over, right? We're not just going to be looking behind the curtain. We are crossing over. Okay, this is what God is saying for this time, for this season. We are crossing over. So I need you to get that in your spirit. I need you to get that in your heart. I need you to understand that this is happening. I know everything before you looks completely opposite of what God said. I understand that. That is just how it is on these faith walks, okay? The enemy's going to show you all the opposite of what God said, and he's going to make it real plain and right in your face. But your job is to not get discouraged. Do not get discouraged and do not fear. Be strong and be courageous and walk right up to that very wall that looks so scary and daunting, so that you can recognize it's really just a curtain, just really a veil that you can pull back so that you can actually see your purpose, that you can actually see what it is that God wants you to have in the fullness of it. Be strong, be courageous. It's going to get good, okay? It's going to get good, y'all. So this is what I saw. And God began to explain to me what I was seeing, right? And this got even more exciting to me. So this is what God began to explain to me. He said that everything I was seeing was me displaying his glory through my gifts, my abilities, and my tools. Everything that I have at my disposal. And this would be the same for you. Whatever that wall looks like for you that you're walking up to and you've realized, hold up, I can pull this back. It's a curtain. There's more. Whatever is behind that curtain, those tend to be things that are your gifting, your ability, the things that you're naturally good at. These are the tools that God gives you to be able to pour out and display his glory here on the earth. This is what that is. So anything that, you're dreaming of, the things that are, that you desire, the things that are in your heart, they're going to be the things that Again, God's placed there because they have something to do with your natural God-given ability, your natural God-given DNA that he's placed specifically inside of you for just this time, for just this season. So again, everything is going to be catered to you. But this is what God is saying. The things that you see behind that curtain, these are the tools, these are the abilities, these are the gifts that you're to use to display my glory. Everything behind this curtain was centered around pleasing God and serving people. And that is so kingdom. That is what the kingdom is. If you ever wonder what the kingdom is, if you're ever trying to figure out, okay, people say kingdom living, we're supposed to do this, and you're trying to figure it out, know that kingdom living is being centered on God, keeping God central to your life, pleasing him, and serving people, the people he's placed in your life to serve. Because again, the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. And we are just like Jesus. We're to be just like Jesus. So that means that we are to serve as well. That's us walking in kingdom. That's us walking in purpose, okay? So he was saying, again, everything was centered around pleasing God and serving people. So this is what I was hearing God say as I was having this vision. He said, picture yourself as a star with all the light rays coming off of you, shining out to bring light to the world. Just like Daniel 12:3 says, those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. He said, each of these rays, the shine off of you, are the tools and the gifts and the abilities that I've given you. So picture a star shining so brilliantly. You can see, all the light shining off of it, all the different rays coming off of it. And they're like limitless. There's just so many rays, you can't even count them. This is the same thing when it comes to us. When we use our creativity and tap into all the gifts that God has given us and really begin to think about the things that we have natural affinity for and that we're naturally good at, you'll begin to have so many options open up to you as to what you can do, what you can accomplish, what you can use to display God's glory. And he was saying, this is that. When you're displaying my glory, you're shining your light. That light that I put in, you're shining it for the world to see. And we all know this world be getting dark sometimes. So we need to be the light that God has called us to light, because there's people we're meant to impact. Their lives we're meant to change. There are people we're meant to help and encourage. They need to hear the very thing that we're saying, even if it doesn't start out the way you think it should start out. We are here for a purpose, and that is to shine God's light. That's to display his glory. And this is what it is to walk in purpose. This is what it is to be on assignment. This is what it is to really be living out your dreams, walking in the promise that God says is yours. This is what it looks like. So all this had me mind blown, mind you. Okay, this was just like, whoa, like, this is really like this. It just seems so simple. It was so good, but it was so simple. And I'm like, this is exactly what I need to hear. This is what I need to know. So after God told me this, I'm like, okay, then, well, how do we get there though? Because, I'm sure you can, sometimes God tells you a thing and he shows you purpose or he shows you assignment. And you're like, this sounds great, but how do I get there? How do I get there? It seems so far from where you are. The place you are and where you want to be just looks totally different and miles apart, and you don't know how to bridge that gap. You don't know how to cross over. You're like, I'm here, that's over there. What's the in between? I don't even know where to start. And trust me, that's fine too, because God knows a lot of the things that you have the affinity for, a lot of the things that he says is, this is your assignment, this is your purpose. It's going to be something you never did before. He knows that you don't have a blueprint for this. He knows that it's something completely brand new. So there's grace for you. Don't worry about trying to get it perfect right off the bat. God has grace for you, and he will show you and he will teach you. Okay. So just know that gap is usually, pretty big for most people, from where you are to where God's saying you're going to be. It's a huge space. But trust, God knows how to bridge the gap. Okay. He said, we're crossing over. So we're crossing over. So this is what he began to say. I said, Lord, how do I get there? And he said, when you peek behind the curtain and you see what you want your life to be based on the desires I've given you, based on the things I've placed in your heart, the key to crossing over is to take a step towards what you see. As you take a step, the path will appear before you. So again, hear me. When you're trying to cross over and you see the promise that God has given you and you're looking at it, but it seems so far from where you're currently at, all you have to do is keep your eye focused on him and focused on his word. What did he say you can do? What did he say is your purpose? What talents and abilities has he given you? What has he um in your tool that you can use to display his glory here on the earth? Whatever that is, take a step towards it. So going back to this vision that God gave me, as I was looking behind the curtain, I saw all the things. I saw, the speaking engagements. I'm seeing the book signings. I'm seeing the art gallery and the solo shows, all the things. But God said, everything, pick a thing. It doesn't matter which thing. Whatever you see behind that curtain, whatever I've revealed to you, you have permission to begin to act on it. Even if it's a small step. If I want to write a book, okay, maybe I'm going to start a spreadsheet and start logging out what I want to say. That's a step. It may seem like a baby step to many, but it's a step. And God says, as you begin to do that, as you begin to take these steps towards the things that you see, the things that I say are yours, the promise, the path will appear. The path will appear before you. And it makes me think of those like Indiana Jones movies back in the day. Like, he would be at the edge of a cliff and it would look like an impossible situation. People are trailing him from the back. There's no way he's going to cross over. There's nothing before him but a big old drop off a cliff. But he'll take a step. And as he puts his foot out, you'll see a bridge appear. And it's like, God is like, it's the same thing with you right now, my daughter, my son. Take a step. I know it doesn't make sense right now. I know it looks like you're taking a step off a cliff. I know what you're wanting to get to seems so far from where you currently are. But if you would just have courage and take a step, even a small one, towards the very thing that I'm revealing to you, that I'm showing you right now, the desires that I'm placing in your heart, the abilities and talents and gifts that I've given you that you know you have, if you just take a step, towards it, the path will appear before you. And what's the path? The path is strategy. We all need strategy. We're all like, how do we do it? I don't know how to get there. The strategy is take a step. As you take a step, God's like, I got you on the next one. As you take a step, he's like, oh yeah, let me lead the path this way. You have to take a step. And as you take a step towards what he's revealed to you, then the path will appear. Then you will start to get strategy for that thing. Then you'll get new ideas, revelation, and understanding on that thing. Then you're able to step out and do the thing God's called you to do. And before you know it, that one tiny step you took has you miles down the road, farther than you ever thought you would be at this point. But that's because you were obedient and you said, you know what, God, if you're revealing it to me now, that means that I'm capable of doing it now. Even if I don't fully know what all I have to do, you didn't ask me to know it all. You said, take a step towards it. Take a step towards it. So if you want to cross over, if you want to get to promise, take a step towards what God is revealing to you. What is he showing you right now? What has gotten you excited? What have you seen? What are the desires for your life? How do you imagine your life? I encourage you to take some time to really slow down, sit still, get quiet. Close your eyes and think about how you want your life to be. What do you see? How do you see yourself using your gifts? How do you see yourself serving others? How do you see yourself pleasing God? And I mean, like, take all the limits off. Of course, as long as it's biblical, as long as it's the desires God put in your heart, but take the limits off and just dream. Just think, what would your ideal life look like right now? What would that be? What does it look like? And when you get that thought, when you get that vision in your mind, get excited, have courage, and go after it. Take a step, no matter how small, just take a step towards it. God will begin to illuminate the path below your feet as you take the step. So it was just, listen, when God was telling me this and sharing this with me and teaching me this in this season, where I too am looking at how to cross over, this made so much sense. And I felt that God was really showing me and making it so clear that it is possible to cross over. It is possible to do the thing that I've called you to do. All you have to do is take a step. You don't have to worry about, how it looks to other people. You don't have to worry about what you don't know. All you have to do is take a step towards the thing you do know. The desire he has given you, the excitement that you see towards that thing, that you have towards that thing, use that same excitement and take a step towards it. No matter how small, I always say it, nothing's small to God. Our small yes is like a huge yes to him. So whatever God is revealing to you and making known to you in this season that gets you excited, that drives purpose, passion, and your assignment, take a step towards it, okay? Take a step. And as you do this, God showed me another layer to this. As you're doing this, like, we're imitating Jesus. You remember them signs back in the day? Those "What would Jesus do?" The WWJD. Like, this is what Jesus did, okay? This is what he did. Think about it. The vision he gave me, I'm facing a wall lined with all the things that would cause me to fear or want to turn back. Yet as I approach the wall, I realize the wall is not a wall, but it's a curtain that I'm able to pull back and take a peek behind and see assignment, purpose, and dreams. I can see walking in the fullness of all the things that God's placed in me. I can see a God-centered life focused on pleasing God and serving people, right? Kingdom. When you see this, when you realize this, you see that God did the same thing. Jesus did the same thing. When he was here on earth, his wall would have been lined with, being rejected by the very people he came to save. His wall would look like, the fear of having to deal with all these people and to face the cross. He had to face like the worst of the worst. You think bills are something. Okay. Imagine having to face crucifixion for something you didn't do, falsely accused, but doing it willingly because you love the people you've came to serve that much that you would do it. Sacrificial love, kingdom living, God pleasing. This is that. So Jesus faced that wall, but decided, I'm not going to let all of that betrayal and everything else deter me from doing what my Father has called me to do. I realized that the wall is not a wall. It's a curtain, a veil that I can peek behind and see purpose and see assignment and see victory. I can see behind that curtain, oh, I get to save all of my children. I get to save the ones I love. I get to, take the keys from hell. I get to, just disrupt death. I get to take the sting out of it. I get to offer eternal life to those who would otherwise not have a chance. I get to be the sacrifice. He saw behind the curtain and still chose to do what it is God called him to do. This is what he's calling us to do right now. Yes, you're going to be faced with the wall of things, the wall, maybe it's debt, maybe it's stress, maybe it's sickness, who knows, maybe it's marital issues. All the things, life, right? You're going to be faced with life up against this wall. You're going to see it. The enemy is going to make sure you see it. You're not going to miss it. It's going to be right in your face. But have the courage, have the boldness to walk up to that so that you can realize it's not actually a wall in the first place. That was the illusion the enemy wanted you to see. He wanted you to think it was a wall, that this was a dead end, that you're stuck and all you can look at is lack. But as you have that courage and that boldness to walk up to it, you realize it's a curtain that you can pull back and take a peek at what God has actually said. Take a peek of the assignments he's actually giving you, the purpose, the ability, the tools that he's placed in you. You can take a peek behind this curtain and realize, oh, wow, there's more. So I don't have to stop at lack. I don't have to stop at doubt. I can actually go beyond that. There's more for me to do. There's more assignments. There's more dreams. There's more things that God has placed in me to pour out. This is behind the curtain. This is what we have access to. And as you are living this life focused on pleasing God and serving people, you realize that everything you do is displaying God's glory. Every ability, every talent, every tool he's giving you is displaying his glory. This is that. This is that Daniel 12:3 live. This is bringing many people to him, bringing many people to righteousness and shining like the brightest stars. And all those different rays that would come off you, all those light rays that are shining off you, those are all your different gifts, abilities, assignment, all the things that God has purposed you to do. And he says, it's unlimited. You're only limited to the amount of your creativity. Create. Use the creativity I've given you. Use the abilities I've placed in you to create and to do and to be. This is all behind the curtain. This is what we get to do. We get to be just like him. We don't have to be discouraged. We don't have to let the things that we see in front of us distract us, make us feel like it's impossible or give up. Everybody likes that verse. What is it? In Hebrews 12, 1 and 2, it's talking about running your race and not getting distracted by all the things that would so easily beset you. So in this vision, that wall full with, all the things, the lack, debt, student loans, all the things. That's the stuff that tries to get you to doubt, tries to get you to give up, tries to get you to be discouraged and wants you to stop. But you have to keep going, because there's joy if you keep going. There's joy behind the curtain. If you just keep going, you'll see it. And one of the verses that stood out to me when God was showing me this, let's see, where'd it go? I think it was Hebrews. Yeah, Hebrews 12:3. So it was just the third one down. But it just says, just consider and meditate. So first I just stopped on that, because that's essentially what I did when I sat down and began to just think, just close my eyes and breathe and think about, okay, Lord, like, what is the vision you've given me? What things, what purpose, what things would I like to do? And that's when he was giving me these visions. That's when I was understanding. It's when I sat and considered and meditated, right? I was meditating on him. I was thinking about what he said. I was thinking about the desires he's placed in me. I sat and meditated. Not busyness, not TV, not social media. I sat and considered and meditated on God and his desires for my life in conjunction with the desires I have. Because again, those are the ones he's placed in me, just like the ones he's placed in you. So as I did that, this is what the verse says. I'll just read it. So it says, just consider and meditate on him who endured from sinners such bitter hostility against himself. Consider it all in comparison with your trials, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Like, if that isn't this, like, I don't even know what it is. Like, this is exactly that season. There's so many things that we'll see that try to make you get weary, give up, lose heart. Don't try to push towards your purpose. Don't try to push towards assignment, because how is that going to happen, right? How do you get from here to there? But you have to focus on and consider what God has said. Focus on and consider him. Focus on and consider the dreams and assignments and purpose that God's placed in your heart. Focus on those things, because all the other stuff going to be there. Sometimes it's the bills. Sometimes it's, different health issues. It can be whatever, life is life. Stuff be coming up. All those things, though, that would try to distract you. That's what I mean. Like, they're going to be there. Those trials of life are going to be there. They're going to want to try to get your attention. But you have to be like, nah, I'm going to stand firm. I'm going to focus on him. I'm going to keep my eyes on him. I'm going to focus on what he said, because what he said is what matters, not what I see. We can't trust our eyes. And nowadays you got AI going on. You don't know what you're looking at half the time, okay? Like, you don't really know. So we can't really trust what we see a lot of the times, but we can trust God's word. We can trust what he's telling us. We can trust what he's saying to us in these seasons. And we can stand firm on that, so that we don't get weary and we don't give up. And we realize that there is more. There's so much more, and God is doing it even now. Okay. And you just have to realize that even though it seems so hard, it seems so far away. I know it. I understand. I'm in the same season. Purpose seems far. Getting to the destination, getting to what God says is yours, becoming the fullness of who God created you to be, like, it seems so far sometimes from where you currently are. But I'm telling you, and I'm here to encourage you, that you can make it. We are crossing over. God has made this so clear. This is a time of crossing over. This is a time to focus on what God has placed in your heart, the desires and things he's giving you based on the talents and gifting that you have. This is that time. And whatever it is that God shows you, whatever it is that he reveals to you that, are your abilities, that your talent, things that he's placed in your heart that, you want to do or you want to see come to fruition, those type of things, you have to just take a step towards it. You have to begin to take a step towards it, because it's time. We are crossing over. The time is now. Literally, the time is now. So as I was going through this and God was teaching this, he kept leading me back to scripture. So he showed me Deuteronomy 31:3. So it says, but the Lord your God himself will cross over ahead of you. He will cross over ahead of you. He will destroy the nations living there, and you will take possession of their land. Joshua will lead you across the river, just as the Lord has promised. This is what God is telling us. That was Deuteronomy 31:3. We are crossing over. And the other scripture he had led me to was Joshua 4:19, and it says, the people crossed over. The people crossed over. They crossed over the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and then they camped at Gilgal. We're crossing over. Like, it's happening now. I know it doesn't always look like it. And this is why I'm smiling now, because I get excited every time I talk about it, because I've been in a season of transition. I've been in a season of like not knowing how God is going to make everything happen, but just saying, Lord, I'm giving you my yes, and I'm going to stand on it, and I'm going to trust you and keep walking. Like, so I'm there, I'm feeling this. But it gets me so excited to know, like, oh my gosh, it's time. Like, we're getting to cross over. We're finally getting to step into purpose and step into promise. Like, this is an exciting time. This is a time to get excited. Don't let the things that you see before you that don't look perfect cause you to be distracted and focus on that and then get discouraged and stop moving. Don't let it happen. You have so much more in you. There's so much joy that God wants to give you. There's so much peace that He wants to pour into you. There's so many talents He wants to extract from you so that He can pour into other people. Like, there's so much more. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes. I know it seems miles away, but we are crossing over, okay? We are going further. We are going into the very thing that God says He has for us. And as I was thinking about this, and I'm thinking about everything that God has showed me, He was showing me how, with the Israelites, when they first crossed over the Jordan, they crossed over into Gilgal. It's that place in between, right? But Gilgal was also considered that promised land. It was a part of it, but it wasn't inside Jericho just yet. It's right outside of it. But they're posted up there, and that was like their campsite. That's where they would get their self together, and then they would go out to fight battles, and they would come back to that spot. They would come back there. That was their campsite. And it made me think about, us in our season. Like, okay, you might find yourself in a Gilgal type situation right now. And that Gilgal is like that season of transition. Like, you've transitioned over and you're right outside of the main promise. But this is the place where you take the steps. Gilgal is the place where you get started, right? Just like I said, whatever God reveals to you, whatever He shows you, He's saying the way you cross over is by taking a step, no matter how small, towards the very thing that He's showing you. Because if He's revealing it to you now, that means He's giving you permission now to begin to act on that thing. Small steps still count. When you take these steps, you're actually, just like the Israelites, you're camped in Gilgal. You're camped at Gilgal. You're mapping out your strategy. You're getting things together to take the promise, even though you're technically in the promised land. But this is your campsite. Gilgal is your campsite where you're getting your strategy and everything together to really take over. So for me, being in Gilgal, if God says, you know what, girl, you're going to write a book. I want you to write a book. That's what we're doing. I said, okay. Well, over here in Gilgal, that means I'm getting strategy together. I'm learning what it looks like to write a book. I'm learning how you structure a book. How do you even write a manuscript? What's the best way to go about it? How many words should a book have? Like, all the things. This is Gilgal. This is what you do there. You prep for promise. Because for them at Gilgal, they were stationed there. They get their troops together there. They get ready to go out and fight the battles. They got ready to go do Jericho first and then hit all the other ones, right? Like, that's what they did. It was a place, an encampment that they started at that would begin to lead them forward. That was their spot. And that's where many of us may find ourselves today. We're in that position. We've crossed the Jordan. We're technically in the promised land, but we're still right outside that main promise. But this is the space and this is the area that you use for your benefit. This is the space where you take time to actually look at the things you really want to do. Like, what does my life look like? What things do I dream of doing? What would be my ideal situation if I could have it right now? When you get that pictured in your mind, you start to take steps toward it. Pick one of the things. It doesn't matter which one. Pick something and say, okay, I'm going to start looking up stuff. I'm going to start Googling stuff. That's where we all start. Okay, we start on Google. Start Googling stuff. Find out all you can find about whatever it is you want to take a step towards. That's still a step too. This is that part. This is that season. This is that time. We are crossing over. We are about to be downloaded with the strategy we need to take the steps forward. But it starts when you take the step. As you move, the path appears. As you move, God continues to choke me up here. God continues to give you what you need to keep moving forward. He keeps showing you the direction to go. He gives you more ideas. You might have more creativity. You might have more patience and peace. Whatever. Everything you need, He's going to give it to you. But it starts with taking that step, especially in this position. When God says we're crossing over and we've crossed over that Jordan and we're in this Gilgal of a space, it's time to take action. They weren't over there just chilling. The last bit of the things that needed to go had to go, right? They had to get circumcised because those children were the ones that were born in the wilderness. They didn't, get circumcised beforehand. So there was still some preparation going on in Gilgal, even though they were actually in the promised land. How many of us are like that? How many of us mistake the promised land for still being in the wilderness because it doesn't look as complete yet? Like, even they, being in Gilgal, were in the promised land, still had to go through a little bit more pruning. How about that? A little bit more, refining. So just because you're being refined doesn't necessarily mean you're not in promise. You got to see it right. You got to realize that, hey, it can be both. It can be both simultaneously. God can do both. So sometimes you're in Gilgal and you're actually in the promised land, but you haven't quite recognized it yet. Let me tell you today, in case you haven't recognized it, that's where you at. That's what's happening. And if God is leading you to the sound of my voice, then this is for you. That is happening. You are crossing over. That means you are in a space of Gilgal. That means you're in a place where it's time to take action and begin to prepare for the promise in a way that you haven't prepared before. Before, it was more so the internal work. It was more allowing God to do what he's doing. It was more listening for his word. And of course, we're always going to be reading his word, but like, it was more of an internal preparation. But now that God is saying you're crossing over, in Gilgal, oh, they was prepping for battle. They was prepping to take over. They was prepping for victory. Because by this point, they already knew it was theirs. But they knew there were still things they had to do. They had to prepare for it. They had to get the instruction from the Lord. They had to find out who they were going to battle first and what they're going after. And it's the same thing with us in these seasons. If we're in our Gilgal, it's like, okay, God revealed to me that we're going to do retreats, or maybe I'm starting a new company. Maybe I'm starting a new business. Maybe I'm starting a YouTube. Maybe I'm starting a ministry. Maybe I'm about to get married. Whatever. Maybe I'm about to be a doctor. I don't know. Whatever it is for you, whatever the desires he's placed in your heart, whatever it is he begins to reveal to you, he is giving you permission to begin to act on it. He is telling you now is a different type of preparation. Now is that time where it start to put things into action. You don't have to be intimidated. He's not saying finish it, have it all put together perfectly, but he's saying now's the time to start to do the research. Now's the time to get a thing in your heart that you know you want in your promised land, or that you know you want to start going towards, and then start looking it up. Hop on Google, start finding out what you can find out about it. Start somewhere, but take the step. And as you're taking the step, God's going to begin to illuminate the next step and the next step and the next step. And next thing you know, you so far from the wilderness, you almost forget what it was like. You're over here living in promise. You over here encouraging other people. You helping them cross over. You're teaching them what you learned from your last battle. Like, before you know it, that happens. But it all starts with taking a step. Be strong, be courageous, be encouraged. You can do it. God is not showing us this stuff for no reason. This is the time to be bold. This is the time to say, you know what? I've come this far. I've come this far. Am I going to trust him or not? Am I going to step out and actually begin to attain the things that he says is mine or not? It's up to you. He's not going to force you to do it. But I'm telling you, he is rooting for you. He is excited for you. Like, when he begins to show you the fullness of what you can do based on the abilities that you already naturally have, it's the stuff he put in you. It's the stuff he already equipped you with. He's not asking something of you he hasn't given you. It's exciting. He's excited. Now, you know, if God's excited about it, you can get excited. You can get excited because he's going to stand by his word. If he said you got it, then you got it. If he's put it in you, it's there. You just might need to see it for yourself. You might need to look at it a little clearer. But begin to get excited. Begin to get excited because we are crossing over. It is time for promise. And the very land that you stand on right now is promise. You're in it now. No, it don't look like it. No, it don't feel like it. Yeah, you still gonna have the stuff that the enemy gonna try to show you to get you to like, are you really in the promised land? Because you still got them bills. Are you really gonna make it? Because you still ain't got no job. Are you really gonna do this? Because how you gonna get married and ain't no man in sight? Like, the enemy just, he do what he do, okay? We know what to expect from him. But we also know what to expect from God. We also know that he ain't gonna lie. He can't lie. He ain't lead us out here to do us wrong. Like, we know the God we serve. Let's act like it. Let's act like it. He said it's a crossover. So what you gonna do? That's what I want to know. What you gonna do? Are you gonna cross over? Are you going to get excited about what God is showing you? Are you going to say, you know what? I know it seems like such a far stretch from where I currently am to where I want to be, but I'm going to trust what God told me. I'm going to get excited. I'm going to step out and do what God said that I can do. Even if it's a small thing. Even if it's a small thing, start small. Starting small is perfectly fine. Like, let me tell you, we all have to start somewhere. Like, nothing's perfect. We just doing what God said we can do. But begin to get excited, y'all. I'm telling you, like, throughout the week, I really encourage you guys to just take some time, get quiet, meditate, think about God, think about his word, and then begin to think about like your natural God-given abilities. Think about the talents you have. Even scratch that. Think about, what do you like? What would you see your ideal life looking like? If you could live it right now, if you lived exactly how you want to live all the way until Jesus come get us, what would that look like for you? Like, really begin to think about this, because I feel like sometimes we get so focused on what we see, we get so focused on what we don't have, that we forget all of the great things we do have. Begin to think about what you have. Get curious. Think about it. What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? How do you want to wake up and live every day? How do you want to please God? How do you want to serve people? What do you want to do? You really got to take some time to think about this, because, again, sometimes we get so caught up seeing what we don't have. I'm sorry, when my lights went out. Seeing what we don't have, that we forget all of what we do have. And every time I think about that, it makes me think about the Garden of Eden, right? Like, the enemy tried to make Eve think, well, if you don't eat of that one tree, then you lacking. He had to get her focused on the one thing she didn't have, so that she couldn't see all the things that she did have freely and openly at her disposal. How many times do we do that? I literally had a conversation with my mom, and I was talking to her about like the season that I'm in. And I'm like, when I really think about it, there's only one struggle I ever have in this whole season. Like, I mean, just one. But I have an abundance of freedom. I have free time. I have family. I get to be there for my husband and make our home how it should be. Like, there's so many things I get to do. I'm healthy. I'm breathing. Like, I can see, like, there's just so many things. I got clothes on my back. I got food in the fridge. Like, these things we tend to overlook, but God is like, that's also my abundance. That's also my goodness. Can we not overlook his goodness, even in the small things? There's so many things he blesses me with. I'm sitting here at a dining room table. Some people ain't got dining room tables. Some people don't have that. That's a blessing too. So, like, think about your life. Like, what do you have? What does God bless you with? What abundance is he giving you that you are right now overlooking, because all you can see is what you don't have? And I guarantee you, it's a good chance. I could be wrong, but it's a good chance that if you start to look at what your life, and you're looking at what your biggest struggle is right now, it's usually like one main thing. There's usually one main area that is just a pain in your side, that you really struggle with. The one reoccurrent area, like the one thing that just keeps happening, the one thing that you just can't stand, it always happens, the one struggle physically, mentally, financially. There's usually one thing that you can pinpoint right now that is the main lack in your life. And the enemy will get all your attention on that. All he wants you to look at is that. Because the longer you look at it, the bigger it gets. The bigger it gets. He wants you to focus so hard on the one thing that you don't have, and make you feel like because you don't have that one thing, everything else is discounted. Everything else is out the window. But God said, not my kids, not my children. Might have got them in Eden, but you're not about to do it again. This is the time for us to focus on our abundance. We have to focus on all the things that God has poured into us. We have to look at, what do we have outside of? If you set aside the one thing, and I'm sure you got one, sit and think about, what's the one thing, your biggest problem right now that you wish you could just overcome and be done with and never have to deal with it again? That one thing, I need you to sit it aside. Sit it aside, get it out the frame, just sit it aside. And I want you to begin to think about all that you have. List it down, write it down if you have to. Think about all that God has blessed you with in this season. This season that's unlike any other. This faith walk that you've never done before. Think about all the abundance of things that you have. And this can be your health, this could be physical, this could be, the clothes on your back, this could be your home, this could be your car, this could be your job, this could be your children, this could be your spouse, this could be your single season, all the things. This could be your business, this could be your paycheck, it could be the food you're about to eat that you got in the fridge, or it could be them cookies like the one I'm about to eat when I get off this live. Like, think about what you have. Think about the abundance that God has placed around you. Lack aside, and you will start to see the abundance that God is really giving you. You'll start to see that the one thing you lack, not that it doesn't count, not that that doesn't need corrected too, but God's like, I got that. But sometimes he wants to get our focus and our attention back to him before all the other stuff gets out the way. It's like another grooming thing. It's another level of maturity where God's like, let me teach my daughter, let me teach my son to focus on me against all odds, to focus on me regardless of whatever else the enemy tries to show you. Sometimes he just wants to see if we're at that place maturity wise and just being in relationship with him. Do we trust him enough to look at him instead of looking at the thing that the enemy is trying to show us? So it's like, so sometimes he allows that, but I don't want you to think that whatever that thing is that you set aside that you feel like you lack right now, I want you to think it's always going to be that way, or that God's like, I'm just keeping that there just for the fun of it. Like, no, we serve a God of abundance and order. Like, he wants things in order, and things in order means us living in abundance. Us as the rightful co-heirs with Christ means that we have access to what he has access to. So that's the right order. Like, don't get caught up in what you don't have right now, because it's just temporary. It's seasonal. And we know just as fast as March has gone by that seasons change. Okay, months change, seasons change, days change. It's going to change. But in the meantime, get your focus right. In the meantime, think about all the abundance that God has placed in you. Think about everything that he's giving you to actually be able to succeed. And as you begin to think about those things and think about what he's blessed you with and what he's given you, I want you to start taking a step towards those things. Start taking a step towards that. Because the more you focus on the abundance, the smaller the lack gets. It might still be there, but your attention is where it should be. So things can be in the right order. And you start to take strides and movements and gain momentum towards the very assignments and abilities that God has placed in you that he says is yours. We're crossing over. It's happening, okay? Right now, you're a part of this too. It's happening right now. So I need you to get excited. I need you to know that God's got you. I need you to know that it is time. Like, this is where it all goes down. This is the part right here that counts. We're going to get on our strategy. We're going to start to think about what our ideal life would look like. Pick something out of that ideal life that you see when you close your eyes and begin to take a step towards that. And watch as God begins to open up the path and lay it out right before you, the strategy, the ideas, the creativity that you need to walk in that thing. And before you know it, you won't be helping somebody else along. You won't be encouraging somebody else like, hey, I did it, so you can do it. I made it, so you can cross over too. Let me show you how. This is what it's about. This is what we're doing. This is that season. This is that time. We are crossing over. So y'all, I hope this encouraged you guys, because I'm telling you, I know I say it all the time, but this really encouraged me. And it was so helpful to know that, one, this is not for nothing. Two, all the things you see don't really matter. You can push that to the side. And three, there's so much behind the curtain going on. There's so many ideas and dreams and purpose and assignment that I have for you. There's so much more. And that just gets me excited. That means there's possibilities. And if you know me, I know, I love that word, possibilities. It's like, it just feels like, man, we could do anything. Anything can happen. And God is saying, yeah, I've placed multitudes of things in you. I've placed creativity on overflow in you. Trust me, when you begin to tap into it, you will see there's abundance in you and around you. We gonna make it, y'all. We are crossing over. So again, I hope that encourages you guys. YouTube, thanks for hanging out for a little bit with me. I'm gonna hop off here so I can get back over on Zoom. But again, I hope it encourages you. If you'd like to be a part of our Zoom and actually join in on conversation, you can go ahead and hit the link in my bio. I believe it is on my YouTube. But join Full Circle Faith and you can get the Zoom link. That way we can just talk, chat, learn a little bit about faith and learn what it looks like to actually walk this thing out. So thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. Lovely ladies here